What is up, Ravens Flock? Huge shout out for your support for the 410 Sports Talk. James and Glenn are the best in the business. They're killing it right now. They love talking Raven talk. Make sure you go subscribe to their channel. Let's go Ravens. Big trust.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm James Haskell, along with my co-host Glenn Martin. And tonight, as you can see by the title, we're here to talk about what everyone seemingly is talking about. I can't get away from this subject. I mean, rightfully so, right, Glenn? You see Mark Andrews on Up and Adams. You see Ian Rappaport talking about Lamar Jackson on Pat's show. You see, like you said, Marlon Humphrey tweeting about it. Everybody's ESPN making more inaccurate statements about Lamar Jackson and the Ravens being $100 million. So everyone's talking about Lamar Jackson. You know what he said, Glenn? Why don't we get involved?
Let's do it.
Why don't we get involved? So Glenn posed a question today. We have a really cool, exclusive, really cool group chat that you guys would be lucky to be a part of. Just a bunch of goofballs talking Ravens. But he posed a question, and this is really what inspired this video. So Glenn, talk to me about what's going through your mind here.
Yeah, no, I mean, anytime you're in negotiations with a player even close to as talented as Lamar Jackson, you understand the risk of losing that player if you can't come to terms on a new agreement. But I wanted to know what else are they losing other than the supremely talented quarterback that Lamar Jackson is? What else are they losing? Not just the player on the field, but exactly how much are they losing if they can't come to an agreement with Lamar Jackson? Because I think it's more than just his impact on the field. I think, Jimmy, you talk about all the time his impact in the community and how it just seems like, certain players just kind of fit their city and fit their organization. Certainly Ray Lewis was one of them here in Baltimore, but man, it just seems like Lamar Jackson is the next guy who just fits the city, the fans. I mean, look, most kids love any NFL player, but let me tell you, we went to 4 training camps, if you include the open practice at the stadium. No one in the history that I've been watching this team since they got here. There is no one.
And going to camps for how long? I mean, think about it. Since McDaniel, all
that. Nobody, not Ray Lewis, not Jamal Lewis, not Ed Reed, not Terrell Sutton. Nobody commands the love and admiration from the children that Lamar Jackson does. I mean, I've been to autograph signings. It doesn't matter if there's a combination of all-pro Mark Andrews, all-pro Project Pat, head coach John Harbaugh. It doesn't matter. Marlon Humphrey. You can pile all those people on one side of the autograph line and put Lamar Jackson on the other side. It's going to be awfully empty on that side with Mark Andrews and the boys. I mean, it's going to – everyone, the kids just flock to Lamar Jackson. I can't exactly explain what it is, but it's just something about Lamar that just he's just captured this city. And it's not just the kids. I mean, yeah, the kids go crazy for him, but the adults are just as wild. I mean, Lamar Jackson is just he transcends sports here in Baltimore. He's just a difference maker in the community. And Jimmy, I think it would be absolutely devastating to see him suiting up in another uniform.
100%, Glenn. That's such a good point. And really that's one of the things we want to talk about tonight. When you kind of think about what the Ravens are really losing if they actually, decide to move on from Lamar Jackson outside of the X's and O's, the immediate under center guy or, in shotgun guy. Right. And you talk about the fans. My real question, when we started talking about the group text was, I legitimately believe Baltimore City would riot. There might be some serious protests at the stadium, around the city, anywhere. Obviously, Twitter would go nuts. Social media would go insane. I think it would be a serious fracture inside the Baltimore Ravens fan base. And I don't think it's hyperbole, just adding to your statement, to say that this would be the biggest shakeup as far as players go that the Baltimore Ravens fans have ever gone through. Yeah. And so, like you said, it really does. It really makes you think, what would happen here? And that has to matter to this organization, because at the end of the day, their patrons are the ones that keep them going, right? Without patrons, without people showing up, without all these things, then you end up, not that this would happen, I don't think it would, but I'm just saying you end up being the Chargers, right? Like you end up being the Jags who have to put hot tubs in their stadiums to get people, and like pools to get people just to show up.
Yeah,
Not that they would do that. Like Baltimore is a football city, don't get me wrong.
Right. Yeah.
But
no, but I could
absolutely
deal. Yeah, I could see it affecting attendance, at least in the the short term when things first break. There's just no doubt about it. And I don't want to be a team that sees the opposing team's fan base take over my stadium when they come to a Monday night game, like we see around the state. I mean, around the country at other stadiums. I think that would be devastating. And then to kind of go on to what else it could affect. Not only would I think the fan base be up in arms, I think when you look at Marlon Humphrey and his interviews he's done at the Pro Bowl this week, he's talked about how he's been trying to recruit players. I mean, I'm sure he's not alone. All these players, certainly if they're locked into a long-term contract and want to attract other talented free agents, they talk at these types of events, when they're at Pro Bowls and stuff like that. He's talked to other players around the league, and he said he's gotten the same response from every player when he asked, "Hey, do you want to come to the Ravens?" And that question is Lamar Jackson going to be the quarterback there? And that's really where the conversation ends, because of course Marlon Humphrey doesn't know anything inside information. He's waiting to hear the news just like me and you. But it's clear that if they don't come to an agreement and Lamar Jackson goes elsewhere, this could affect how they not just attract free agents for this year. Because of course, if I'm a wide receiver, I want to know if Lamar's going to be there. But I think it goes deeper than that. It goes to, you draft a guy, what more could this guy have done to earn a contract, right? Like that's what you hope to do. You hope to draft a guy and then pay that guy because he's earned his deal during his rookie contract. And you want to build through the draft and extend your guys, not constantly rely on bringing in outside free agents. Well, if they look at this team and go, wait a minute, what else could Lamar have done? I mean, yeah, he had some injury-ridden years, no doubt about it. Team came up short in some playoff runs. The team did, again, not Lamar. But as far as individual accomplishments, there's literally nothing more that he could have done individually than what he's already done. So it would give a perception around the league that, man, these guys don't take care of their guys. I mean, what else? I mean, if you're not going to take care of this guy who was the MVP and led your team to all these wins and all this, like how much do you think that could affect the Ravens, not just this season attracting free agents, but going forward?
Yeah, it's the residual effect and the goodwill, right? Like the view, how people view your organization. We talked about some other teams, but every team has, excuse me, dying over here. Every team has a perception about them, right? And so how much would it change the Ravens' perception? Because I think right now it's fair to say the Ravens' perception is that they do take care of their players. How many, like when we've talked to, when I talk to the people about it, how many guys here that have been staples, at least after the rookie deal, the Ravens take care of them. I mean, at least, right? Like they get it, that first extension, a lot of times second. I mean, you talked about, other free agents. A lot of times the Ravens don't let their guys get there. I mean, Ray obviously didn't go anywhere. Ed went somewhere at the end of his career. And there's the names go on and on. There's a lot of guys that meant a lot to here, Marshall Yonda and others that stayed here for a long time, at least 90% of their career, if not more. Sorry. So yeah, the residual effect of free agent, not even just schematically, like you were talking about, right? But like you said, the goodwill of it, man, I think it would also be damaging. Absolutely damaging, because like you said, what else can Lamar have done other than like stay healthy? Which how much of that can he control? Yeah,
he didn't intentionally get hurt. So yeah, I think it could be something, because look here, let's be honest, Jimbo, the narrative, and it gets me fired up because I think the national media has really kind of been the ones to spearhead this. It's already out there that receivers wouldn't want to come to Baltimore. Like that's already a thing. If you're a wide receiver, why do you want to go to Baltimore? You're going to get less targets. You're going to get far less opportunities. It's a run-first team. So there's already that narrative growing. What we don't want to see is for that to be expanded into other positions, because right now it seems like it's kind of just being penned in as the wide receiver, because we've talked to him. We've kind of defended it. Well, if you're an offensive lineman, you'd like to come to this place. If you're a running back, you'd like to come here. Tight end, you'd like to come here. We get why a wideout would be hesitant. Well, right now it's just the wideouts. But if you start letting guys of the talent level of Lamar Jackson end up elsewhere, then it's going to start becoming a whole different thing. Not only do you not want to go there if you're a wide receiver, heck, I wouldn't want to be drafted there as a quarterback, because what do I got to do to earn a contract if this isn't good enough? So I worry about just the perception across the nation. It's going to be, well, if you want to play good defense, yeah, go to Baltimore. But if you're on the offensive side of the ball, I wouldn't go.
And let me ask you this, Glenn, how much of this thought process, because all this being said, I agree 100%. We cannot, the more and more I think about it, we cannot let Lamar walk. Like, we just simply can't, right? But it's seemingly there's still a line that Bisciotti's not going to cross.
Yeah.
Seemingly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, or the deal would already been done.
Right. I mean, I think that's just what it is. So what do you like in the negotiation? I mean, do you think Lamar's also thinking this stuff as well? Like, you realize what this is going to do to the franchise, right? Like, I don't know if he's vocalizing all of that. He doesn't seem like the type of guy that he would just simply say, hey, this is what I want. I don't know. I'm just making a lot of assumptions here. But I wonder how these negotiations are going. The other thing, too, is if you look at a player, you hate to just simply commoditize a human, but think about if Lamar's return on investment, Bisciotti as an owner wants return on his dollars spent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Think about all of the different ways, and it's hard for me to quantify them or anybody really who doesn't understand the exact structure of how all these guys get paid. But obviously, I'm sure that anytime there's his team's logo on a jersey, you better believe he's getting some dollars in his pocket, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you're talking jerseys sold, you're talking tickets sold, you're talking playoff games hosted, playoff games gone to, all these things. I mean, they are magnified, or even marketing opportunities for the team and things like that. They're magnified with Lamar Jackson, right?
Oh,
like
100%.
Even, you talked about it before the show. Like, think about, I think there was a report that the Cleveland bars around the Q, the Quicken Loans Arena in Cleveland, when LeBron left, went down 1/3. The revenue the following year went down by 1/3.
It's insane.
Now they kind of tanked after he left. So not tanked, but they just weren't good. I'm hoping that at least the Ravens will still be competitive. All that said, wouldn't you expect the same sort of impact if Lamar left?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, just think about so every time, like you said, every time the Ravens logo is on ESPN, that's a win for Steve Bisciotti, right? Because I remember as a young football fan, when I was a young man, the Ravens weren't here. There was no team in Baltimore. So what team did I gravitate to? The one that was always on TV, Jimbo. I became a Cowboys fan because that was my introduction to football, was watching them win Super Bowls in the early 90s. That's what I saw on TV constantly. Well, a lot of young fans who may be in cities that don't have teams, or really nowadays with just the way social media kind of connects us all, it's not so much about supporting my hometown. It's about supporting a team or a player you feel most connected to, or you're most passionate and enjoy watching the most. So every time we see a Lamar Jackson highlight, I mean, you got to imagine he's gaining fans for the Ravens from all over the world. Like it's a massive. We didn't have a guy necessarily on offense that's going to be lighting up the ESPN's top 10.
Ever.
No, absolutely not. So he brought so many more eyes. The bars, the restaurants surrounding the stadium on game day, I got to imagine have received a massive boost in revenue since Lamar Jackson's been here. I've seen the tailgating, how much that's increased. Not to say there's always been tailgating, but man, I mean, it is insane now ever since Lamar Jackson and this offense became more explosive and more, kind of the headline. So, Jimbo, this would be massive. And I just want to ask you, because I wrote down a couple names of like the greatest names to leave Baltimore, the big what ifs. And you guys have to forgive me if I missed a name because I'm just kind of going off the top of my head. But Torrey Smith was a big one that I think fans were disappointed when he left. Went to Maryland, ends up in Baltimore. Sad to see him go. But would you say that Torrey Smith's impact would be even close to what Lamar's would be?
Look, Glenn, I don't even know all the people that's on your list. I imagine I know most of them, but you can Name all of
Haloti
them
Ngata?
combined. I mean, you can combine all of them, just like you talked about the
Anquan
autographs.
Yeah.
And still, I don't think it would have the impact. Who else you got on that list?
I got Anquan Bolden, fan favorite.
Mm-hmm.
People were pissed. Haloti Ngata, people were upset. Matthew Judon, I think people are still upset watching him put up all these sacks in New England.
Mm-hmm. Well, we got a Dafe Owe.
Exactly. Adalys
Beast.
Thomas was, Adalys Thomas was a big time fan favorite. Ends up in New England. He's a little bit for the older fans, but if you like you
and
said,
this is
Jimbo,
my question to you, Glenn. If you could take all that those players were when they left Baltimore,
mm-hmm.
and all that you expect Lamar Jackson to be in the 5 years, and you can only have one or the other.
Oh man,
I'm pretty sure with what Lamar's
expected. If it was money wise, I would take Lamar. But damn, that's some good players on that list, Jimbo.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, they weren't like they weren't.
No, they weren't envy. They're not challenging for Player of the Year. I mean, maybe Haloti Ngata at some point was making a claim, but he never really was going to get it. He didn't get any counting numbers. So
right.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly for the financial, for gaining fans. Like,
yeah, the impact
add them
is
all
so
up.
Great. I mean, I think it's fair. Like, I know that Lamar has been down in national media. Like, who do they put as like the top quarterbacks? Now it's Mahomes, it's Burrow, it's Herbert, it's
Josh
Allen. Like those are the guys, right? But
yep.
Man, we've already seen what Lamar can do, and here in the local media, Ravens fans, throughout the world know who he is. Like Lamar Jackson is I still believe is the most impactful singular player in the NFL. I think he can do the most for a roster as a single human being can do for an NFL team. And I think he's been that for a long time. I was just actually reminiscing on, do you recall the Clemson Louisville college game? They still show some highlights of that every once in a while on Twitter. The fact that Louisville was third in the country.
I know.
When have they in our lifetime, Glenn, that you can recall been anything
on the football field?
Yeah, outside of when Lamar was there and now Lamar's gone.
Yeah, I mean, and
they were third in the country, Glenn.
And look at where they're at now.
I mean, the dude has done nothing but be incredibly impactful. You know what? You see me do this. I like to skip rocks. Quick anecdote. I like to skip every once in a while because I'm a dummy. I like to grab the biggest rock I can find that's like this big, and I'm like, I'm gonna skip this. Like, and I try.
I've seen him do this, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and like, but really, the idea is like, when you throw a pebble in the water, it like reverberates. But when you throw that monster thing in the water, it's like, and, that would be what happens if Lamar Jackson leaves. Could you imagine? I mean,
and let's also, while we're talking about the impact off the field, let's also remember that he's a hell of a player on the field, and that losing.
Right, we haven't even talked about the plays he makes on the field right now.
Exactly, and how hard it would be to replace a player of his caliber, and how we could very well end up in quarterback purgatory for the next 10 years.
Yeah, what vet wants to come here after that?
Exactly. I mean, you'd have to have no other options, right? Because you wouldn't come here and go, well, why would I want to go there? A team that doesn't want to extend their 26-year-old former MVP quarterback who's
like
done
you said,
everything.
I'm chopped liver.
Exactly. I'm obviously expendable if that guy is. I mean, who isn't expendable if this guy is? So it's such it's just a big, and I get it. I mean, I understand why the owner would be hesitant to give a fully guaranteed contract. I'm not saying that he has to do that. But I do want to take a quick second to point out the fact that this national media is continuously trying to drive a wedge and reporting old misinformation as if it's some new breaking news. It's absolute nonsense.
This is Fowler again, right? Fowler is an absolute
Dude, he is horrible.
Goof.
He is,
horrible. Yeah, as nice as I can say it.
Yeah, that is nice. Exactly. Because Jeremy Fowler consistently reports old, recycled, garbage news reports as if there's some breaking brand new development to the story.
I firmly believe that no one in the NFL actually wants to talk to Fowler.
Well, I mean, he just seems
he's just
like
a leech.
Always, and he's always late on everything. It just and it just seems like he's just I don't like it at all. So obviously, you guys have seen the report, I'm sure, that Jeremy Fowler put out that said just earlier this week, or no, it was just yesterday, that the Ravens and Lamar Jackson could be $100 million apart on guaranteed. It is the most nonsensical tweet that I've seen in a long time. Sarah Ellison, I think we put her tweet up because I think she She kind of captured it. Absolutely, ESPN has been messy, but specifically Jeremy Fowler. There was never $133 million fully guaranteed on the deal. 133 was the guaranteed at signing.
Dude, sign the dotted line. You get $133 million.
Absolutely. But Diana Rossini said it was 180, I think. And now Marcus Spears gets the corrected $200 million in total guarantee. So it's not like the Ravens aren't ponying up a good offer. And I'm sure Lamar looks and says, well, look, this is what I'm worth. And I get it from that point too. All I'm hopeful for is that they can meet in the middle and that we don't have a stalemate at the top or a stalemate at the bottom. We have to see flexibility. We need to see compromise. We cannot see just demands. We have to see negotiations. So they got to get this done. Sit down and get this done.
For the sanity of all of us.
No, and also, could this be what's holding up the hiring of an OC? I mean, it could just be they're waiting to talk to Bieniemy, and they have to wait, after they change the rules to after the Super Bowl. And that could be the reason. But it could also be that nobody wants to sign here as an OC until they find out what the hell is going on with their quarterback.
And can you blame them? I mean, and that's just another, we didn't even get into it. That's just another way that this is affecting the future of the Baltimore Ravens. And I can't blame Lamar for wanting his money. I can hope that it is a negotiation, like you said, Glenn, but you can't blame him for wanting his money. All that being said, they need to, for the sake of Lamar's career, for the sake of the Ravens' future, get it done. They need to get it done because we need to get this behind us. Let's figure this thing out. Oh gosh, let's get it done already. But yeah, I mean, really what I want to know from you guys in the comment section is what are we missing? Is there something else that we're not even talking about that would, be impacted by Lamar Jackson leaving here? I mean, I think it would be so impactful. I think we covered it pretty well, but I'm sure there's other things we're not thinking about, or are we overstating it? Where do you guys lay when it comes to Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens? Man, Glenn, it makes me nervous. Well,
look, if it makes you feel any better, Mark Andrews did a recent interview, and he was asked, you even imagine a scenario where Lamar Jackson isn't your quarterback, and he quickly, no, I can't. And they said, why? He said, well, I know how the organization feels about Lamar, and I know how Lamar feels about the organization. I know both sides want to get this deal done, so I'm confident that it eventually will get done. But that's just Mark Andrews' opinion, and I'm sure he's being just as much hopeful as he is, trying to make an accurate prediction. So, like Jimmy said, let us know all your thoughts on exactly what they're losing if they are to lose or were to lose Lamar Jackson, not just on the field, but of course off the field. And then let us know what you think it'll take to kind of get this deal done, and if this deal is holding up the signing of an offensive coordinator. Let us know in the comments below. And we'll talk soon.
Yesterday does not matter. You're looking forward to today.
I'm looking forward to being a Raven.
What are they getting?
Everything out of me. They're going to get a Super Bowl out of me. Believe that.